What would you do if a cop asked one simple question that could open your car, your phone, and your whole night to a search? One wrong answer can turn a basic traffic stop into a criminal case fast. And the scary part is, you can block a lot of that with a few calm words. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could save you from jail one day. Like this video too, because you do not want to forget these lines when your hands are shaking on the side of the road. Here's what you need to know before this ever happens to you. Cops count on you not knowing they can legally order you out of your car. They count on you not knowing your own words can give them consent. They count on you not knowing a stop is supposed to end once the ticket business is done. And they really count on you not knowing the exact line that shuts down extra questions. I've analyzed over 200 Bodycam videos, and the pattern is always the same. The driver talks too much, agrees too fast, and gives away rights for free. Most people have no idea how quickly a normal stop turns into a fishing trip. Today, you're going to learn 7 things they hope you never hear. And more important, the exact words you can use when the pressure hits. Let me show you exactly how smart drivers keep a simple stop from becoming a disaster. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much to you. A traffic stop feels small. It feels routine. You think, just be nice, answer everything, and get home. But that is where people get burned. Cops are trained to ask casual questions that sound harmless. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? Anything illegal in the car? Mind if I take a look? Those questions are not random. They are designed to get you talking, get you nervous, and get you to hand over consent. Here's the reality. The more you talk, the more they can use. The more you agree, the less protection you keep. You do not win roadside by debating. You win by staying calm, saying less, and knowing the exact moment to draw the line. Listen closely because this is critical. A polite driver is good, a trained driver is better. And tonight, you're going to sound trained. The first thing cops count on is you talking your way into trouble. You do not have to give them your whole life story. You do need to hand over the basic stuff they can lawfully ask for, like your license, registration, and proof of insurance. But after that, you do not have to become your own witness. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, here are my documents. I prefer not to answer questions. Word for word, memorize that line. That line works because it is calm, it is not rude, it does not start a fight, and it stops you from filling the silence with bad facts. When people get nervous, they talk. They admit they were speeding. They say they had one drink. They explain why they are late. They ramble about where they came from, who they were with, and what is in the trunk. You think you are helping. You are not. You are building the officer's report for them. Now here's another thing they count on you not knowing. If the officer tells you to step out of the car, you usually need to comply. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Pennsylvania versus Mimms, the court said an officer can order a driver out during a lawful stop. In plain English, that means do not turn a small stop into a resisting charge. So if they tell you out, you get out. Calmly, no sudden moves, no arguing on the roadside. Bad way. Most drivers say, I only had 2 beers, or I'm not getting out. Then the stop gets tense and the officer starts looking for more. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, here are my documents. I prefer not to answer questions. Then they stay calm, comply with lawful orders, and stop feeding the investigation. Here's the reality. Silence protects you because words expand the stop. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole energy of the encounter. You're no longer easy to lead. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer volunteering facts they did not have 5 seconds ago. Watch what happens when you use it right. The officer asks where you're coming from. You do not lie. You do not make a speech. You use your line. You hand over the documents. You keep both hands where they can see them. If they ask you to step out, you comply. That alone avoids 2 huge mistakes. Thing 1, you stop talking too much. Thing 2, you stop resisting lawful commands you were never going to win anyway. Without this tactic, you hand them little pieces they can stack into suspicion. With this tactic, you keep the stop narrow. You keep it boring. And boring is exactly what you want. Have you ever been asked where you were coming from during a stop? Drop a comment below because that one question catches people every single day. The second thing cops count on is your consent. Not a warrant, not a judge, not some giant legal trick, just your consent. They ask in a friendly voice. They make it sound routine. They say, you don't mind if I look around, right? And right there, your answer can change everything. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Those exact words. Say them calmly, say them clearly, then stop talking. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. You're not required to help search your own car. You're not required to unlock your bags. And you are definitely not required to make it easy. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of searches happen because drivers say yes when the officer did not actually have enough to force one. The law here matters more than people think. In Schneckloth versus Bustamonte, the Supreme Court said a consent search can be valid even if the person was not told they had the right to refuse. Read that again in plain English. The officer does not have to teach you your rights before asking. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because once you clearly refuse, the whole situation changes. Now, if they search anyway, that becomes their legal problem, not yours. Your job is to refuse, not argue. Not grab the door, not push a hand away. Just refuse and let the camera catch it. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, I've got nothing to hide. Then the officer searches every inch and may find something you forgot was even there. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer either needs a real legal reason or has to live with your refusal on record. Let me show you exactly why this matters. Maybe your cousin left something in your back seat last week. Maybe there is an old pocket knife somewhere. Maybe there's cash, medicine, or something totally legal that still creates a huge headache. A search is not harmless just because you think you're innocent. A search is risk, period. Now add one more case. In Ohio versus Robinette, the Supreme Court said officers do not have to tell you that you are free to go before asking for consent. In plain English, they can make it feel like you have to agree when you actually do not. That is why your line matters so much. It cuts through the pressure. It creates a clean record. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection during the search phase of a stop. Watch what happens when you stay calm. The officer asks to look in the car. You refuse. The officer pushes a little. You repeat it once. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. That is it. No speech, no attitude, no helping. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it tells them you know the game. And when you know the game, they often move differently. The third thing cops count on is you not knowing when the stop should end. This one is massive. A traffic stop has a purpose. Handle the traffic issue, run the license, check the basics, write the warning or ticket, then you should be on your way. But a lot of drivers do not know how to test whether the stop is still legal. Here's exactly what you say. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? Those exact 10 words. Burn them into your memory. This question matters because it forces clarity. If you are free to leave, leave. Calmly. No sudden speed off, no last speech. Just go. If you are being detained, then the officer is saying they have some reason to keep you there. And that is the moment you stop chatting and start being even more careful. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to ask if you are free to go. The big case here is Rodriguez versus United States. The Supreme Court said officers cannot stretch a finished traffic stop just to do extra crime hunting, like waiting for a dog, unless they have separate reasonable suspicion. Plain English. They cannot keep you there just because they feel like fishing. Once the traffic business is done, the stop cannot be dragged out for no reason. Bad way. Most drivers say, yeah, I can wait, or I guess that's fine. Then 5 extra minutes becomes 15, and now a dog is on scene. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to either let them go or own the reason for keeping them. Let me show you exactly how this sounds in real life. The officer hands back your license. He says, hold on one second. He starts asking where you were earlier. He looks at your back seat. He acts casual. That is your moment. Not angry, not shaky, just clean and simple. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? If he says you're free to go, the conversation is over. If he says detained, you have learned something important. This is no longer a friendly chat. This is an investigation. Most drivers miss this because they think being polite means staying forever. That is not politeness. That is surrender. You can be respectful and still protect yourself. I've analyzed over 200 Bodycam videos, and the drivers who know this line change the whole direction of the stop. They force the officer to make a choice on camera, and that matters. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. Stay with me, because this is the part that protects you if the stop gets worse, and it may be the most important line in the whole video. The fourth thing cops count on is you talking after the stop turns serious. Once cuffs come out, or once they start saying they think you have drugs, a weapon, or anything else, your old habit of explaining can crush you. People panic. They think if they just clear things up, they can talk their way home. That is usually when the real damage starts. Here's exactly what you say. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Word for word. Memorize it now, not later. Notice what that line does. It is direct. It is clear. And it leaves no confusion. You are not kind of asking. You're not hinting. You are invoking. That matters because vague words create loopholes. If you say maybe I should get a lawyer, that is weak. If you say I think I want to stop talking, that is weak. You need it clean. Bad way. Most drivers say, I can explain, or can we talk this out? Then they keep talking, and their own words become the strongest evidence. Good way. Smart drivers say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Then questioning should stop, and the case gets harder to build from their own mouth. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it protects you from yourself. That is the real danger, not just the officer. You, Your fear, your need to explain, your hope that honesty alone will fix a bad setup. Here's the reality. Silence after arrest is not guilt. Silence is survival. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection once the stop turns into custody. And here is one more thing tied to that. If an officer starts pushing for your phone, do not help unlock it. Do not guess at what they can or cannot search in the moment. Just stay with your line. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. If they ask again, repeat it. That one sentence covers you better than any roadside speech ever will. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings and years of real cases. Former police officers have confirmed this works because once you stop talking, the easy part of the investigation is over. Now they need real evidence, and that is exactly where you want them. So now you have the core 7 things they count on you not knowing. 1, you do not have to answer every question. 2, you usually do have to comply if ordered out. 3, you can refuse consent to search. 4, they do not have to warn you that you can refuse. 5, you can ask if you are detained or free to leave. 6, they cannot stretch a finished stop without more reason. 7, if things get serious, you ask for a lawyer and shut up. Let's lock the legal side in fast, in simple English. Pennsylvania versus Mimms says if the stop is lawful, the officer can order you out of the car. So do not fight that part. Schneckloth v. Bustamonte says a consent search can still count even if the officer never told you that you could refuse. So your refusal has to come from you. Ohio versus Robinette says the officer does not have to say you are free to go before asking to search. So do not wait for magic words from them. Use your own words. And Rodriguez v. United States says police cannot extend a finished traffic stop just to keep sniffing around without separate reason. So once the traffic business is over, your question,